You wake up, check your bank account, and the number is stagnant. You look at your credit score, and it's hovering in the mid-500s or sitting at a blank, invisible zero. You feel trapped. You see others playing the game of high-leverage finance, buying assets and securing deals, while you are stuck trying to prove you are trustworthy enough to borrow $500. It's an exhausting, humiliating cycle. But what if the entire system you are trying to enter is designed to keep you exactly where you are, begging for approval? By the end of this, you will know exactly how to architect an elite credit score from absolute zero, without falling into the debt traps that keep 90% of the population in a permanent state of financial servitude. But here is the part nobody tells you. The popular consensus on credit cards for beginners is a lie. They tell you to pay on time, keep balances low, and wait patiently for years. They call it being responsible. I call it being a spectator. You have been taught that credit cards are a luxury, a convenience, or a dangerous temptation. This is exactly what they want you to believe, because as long as you fear the credit card, you will never master the machine behind it. Machiavelli warned about this centuries ago. He said that a man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to grief among so many who are not good. In the world of finance, the rules are not written for your benefit. They are written to extract your interest payments. Income is not power. Control is. I remember my own first encounter with the credit system. I was young, broke, and desperately trying to build a profile so I could eventually access real capital. I followed all the advice. I took the high-interest cards, I carried small balances thinking it would help my score, and I waited for the magical increase that never came. I was playing by the rules of the house, and the house was winning. It was only when I stopped viewing credit as a social favor and started viewing it as a cold, strategic instrument that things shifted. Machiavelli started making sense to me, not as philosophy, but as survival. And if this makes you uncomfortable, that is a good sign. It means you are finally waking up to the reality of how the game is actually played. Consider J.P. Morgan. He did not build the most powerful financial institution in history by being a good boy who paid his bills on time. He built it by understanding that credit is not just a loan, it is a mechanism of control. When he needed to stabilize the American economy during the Panic of 1907, he didn't ask for permission. He leveraged his reputation, his connections, and his absolute command of the financial landscape to dictate terms to the government. He understood that the one who controls the flow of capital controls the outcome. That is not luck, that is strategy. The foundation of controlled entry. For credit cards for beginners, the first step is selecting your entry vehicle. Do not start with a high-interest store card or a predatory lender. Start with a secured credit card. Think of a secured card as a training sword. You provide the deposit and you use the card to build the discipline of paying it off in full every single month. The machine cares about one thing: data. It needs to see you can handle money that isn't yours. By depositing your own capital to secure the line, you are essentially buying your way into the game. It's a temporary disadvantage for a long-term strategic gain. Start small, but start now. The velocity of payments. Most people pay their bills once a month. That is too slow. To force the credit bureaus to recognize you faster, increase your velocity. Pay your balance off every single week. This does two things. First, it ensures you never accidentally miss a payment, which is the fastest way to destroy your score. Second, it keeps your credit utilization ratio artificially low at all times. Think of your credit utilization as the weight you are carrying. The less you carry, the faster you move. Keep it under 10% at all times, no matter what your limit is. Action: log into your banking app every Sunday and clear the balance. The utilization illusion. This is a critical strategy for credit cards for beginners. The total limit on your card matters. If you have a $500 limit, you are limited by the machine. But here is the secret. You can request a credit limit increase every 6 months without a hard pull on your credit report. You need to expand your capacity. When your limit increases, your utilization automatically drops even if you spend the same amount. You are manipulating the formula to make yourself look like a more stable borrower than you actually are. Action, set a reminder for every 6 months to demand a higher limit from your issuer. The authorized user tactic. If your personal history is non-existent, borrow someone else's. If you have a family member with an impeccable, long-standing credit history, ask them to add you as an authorized user on one of their oldest cards. You don't even need the card in your hand. You simply need your name on the account. Their positive history will be mirrored onto your credit report. It's the ultimate shortcut. It isn't cheating, it's leveraging existing infrastructure to accelerate your own growth. Action, identify someone in your network with a high score and a long account age and make the request. The myth of carrying a balance. There's a pervasive myth among credit cards for beginners that carrying a small balance helps your score. This is a trap designed by banks to collect interest. Never, ever pay a cent of interest. Interest is the tax you pay for being poor or disorganized. The credit score algorithm does not reward interest payments. It rewards the responsible management of credit. If you pay off your balance in full every month, you are winning. If you pay interest, you are losing. It is that simple. Action, set up an auto pay for the full statement balance to ensure you never pay a fee. Strategic hard inquiries. Every time you apply for a credit card, you trigger a hard inquiry. This stays on your report for 2 years and temporarily dings your score. For credit cards for beginners, this is a cost of doing business, but you must be surgical. Do not apply for every card you see. Only apply for cards you are certain you will be approved for. Research the approval odds. Use resources like credit forums or pre-approval tools on bank websites. Each inquiry must be a calculated move towards a specific goal. Action, limit your applications to 1 every 6 months to protect your score. The longevity strategy. Your credit age is a major component of your score. This is why you should never close your oldest credit card even if you stop using it. Keep it open. Use it once every few months for a small purchase to keep the account active. Closing that account shortens the average age of your credit, which hurts your score. Think of your credit history as a building. The longer it has been standing, the more solid it is perceived to be. Do not tear down the foundation. Action, keep your first card open indefinitely, even if you upgrade to better ones. The credit mix requirement. As you advance, you need a diverse credit profile. A credit card is revolving credit. Eventually, you will need to add an installment loan to your profile. This could be a small personal loan or a student loan. The credit score algorithm wants to see that you can manage different types of debt simultaneously. It shows versatility. However, do not take on bad debt just for the sake of the mix. Only do this when you are ready to manage the additional complexity. Action, once your score reaches 700, consider a small, low-interest installment loan if you do not have one. The dispute protocol. Mistakes happen. Sometimes a late payment is reported in error or a collection account shows up that isn't yours. Do not panic. You have the right to dispute any inaccurate information on your credit report. This is a bureaucratic process, but it is necessary.
You're the last one.
You must be persistent. If the credit bureaus cannot verify the information within 30 days, they must remove it. This can add dozens of points to your score overnight. Action, check your report from all 3 major bureaus every 3 months and dispute every single inaccuracy you find. The ultimate guardrail. Never use credit to fund a lifestyle you cannot afford. That is the quickest way to ruin. Credit cards for beginners are for building a profile, not for buying status. Every dollar you spend on a credit card should already be in your checking account, ready to be paid off. If you do not have the cash, you do not make the purchase. Treat the card as a debit card that reports to the bureaus. That is the discipline. That is the power. Once you master this, you stop being a servant to the system and start using it for your own expansion. Action, audit your spending and ensure every single transaction is backed by liquid capital. Look back at the person you were at the beginning of this video. The anxiety you felt about your score, the uncertainty about how to start, the fear of the system. That was then. This is now. You have been given the mechanics of the game. You understand the levers of utilization, payment velocity, and credit age. The landscape of your financial future is no longer a dark, inaccessible void. It is a field of opportunities waiting for someone with the discipline to claim them. You have the knowledge, you have the strategy. The only variable remaining is your own willingness to act. Most people will hear this and do nothing. They will continue to complain about the system while failing to master the most basic tools of modern finance. They will wait for someone else to grant them permission to succeed. A few of you will act. You will apply for the card, you will set the autopay, and you will methodically build your credit until you have the leverage to demand what you want from the world. You are currently at a crossroads. You can remain a spectator or you can become a participant. Decide which one you are. If this shifted the way you see things, do not stop here. What you heard today is only the surface. The game of finance is deeper, darker, and more complex than most are willing to admit. We dissect these strategies every week, stripping away the noise to give you the signal you need to survive and thrive.